Hi, welcome to Talking and Reading from Japan. I'm your host, Hidemi Woods. Here, I read part of my memoirs I wrote and talk about anything related or unrelated to it. I hope you enjoy with me. Today, I'm gonna read an episode from the books I wrote titled The Girl in Kyoto. Today's episode I'm reading is called A Keychain. This is about a keychain that one of the carpenters gave me when my house was being rebuilt. A keychain. During the construction of my family's new house, many contractors and carpenters came and worked every day. As we lived in barns as a makeshift home at the edge of the construction site, I saw them regularly and had a crush on one of the carpenters. He would come to work by car and pass under a pedestrian bridge at the almost exact time every morning. I used the bridge to the elementary school, and every morning when I was walking on the bridge, his car passed beneath it. I waved at him, and he waved back at me every time. One day, while I was hanging around near the construction site, he came up to me and handed me a keychain in which miniature playing cards were contained. He said it was a small gift for me. I was over the moon. But that was the last time I saw him. Because the construction company executive ran away with all the money my family had paid, the pay for the workers stopped. The construction was abandoned, and no one came to work anymore. Only a carpenter with craftsmanship who carved beautiful patterns on the wooden thresholds came to continue his work without pay after his new job. But the carpenter I had a crush on never showed, and his car never passed under the pedestrian bridge. I cherished the miniature playing cards for a long time. That was today's episode. It happened when our family's house was rebuilt when I was 9 years old. And my parents encountered a fraud that a small local construction company executive ran away with all the money our family paid. And it was a big huge setback, and it was because my family's house was quite big. The money my family paid was not small, so um, it's a big crime, I guess. But none of my family members reported to the police because my especially my parents were so vain, and they uh, prioritized um, how they look to the neighbors, or how the neighbors or relatives, their acquaintances, thought about them over their really bad situation. They just wanted to hide the crime, although they were the victims, not the criminals, but they tried to hide the fact they encountered fraud. So they didn't report it to the police, and they just every night my parents and my grandparents were talking and thinking and over what they should do. And not and eventually the payment for the workers stopped, so no one came to work. But I didn't know that as a child, so I assumed the carpenter I had a crush on came to the construction site as usual, but he also stopped coming. But before the day before he stopped coming, he gave me this keychain, and I really cherished it. And in hindsight, he knew that was his last day to work for us, so he kindly gave it to me, that keychain, as a farewell gift. But but I didn't know, so I was so devastated the next day when I learned he would never come to work for us and I would never see him again. But only one carpenter, he continued to come, although we didn't pay for him. He just wanted to finish his work for our house. That was to carve the threshold over a Japanese type room. It's called kamoi in Japanese. There are in a Japanese style room where which floor has tatami. A door is a sliding door, and above the sliding door, between the sliding door and the ceiling, there is there is some space, and usually the space is filled with a board of wood. And in our family's house, that board was not just a board. They, our family wanted to put a decorated board of wood. So sometimes a big temple or a shrine has it, a similar decoration above the sliding door. And they wanted in our house. My parents, my family wanted it. And that board of wood has a carving, and that carving was that carpenter's particular job, because he was extremely good at it. It was so beautiful. I was just a child. Although I was just a child, I was able to see the difference. I was able to appreciate how beautiful, how superb his work was. His carving was art. So elaborate, and so it had such craftsmanship, and it was a minute elaborate a piece of art. And that carpenter wanted to finish it, so he, without pay, he came to our house and continued to carve that wooden threshold. After all, my family managed to find a solution to complete the construction. They they found one of our relatives was actually running his own construction company quite far from where I lived. At that time, I lived in Kyoto, and he was a relative who happened to have his own construction company, and we asked him to finish the work, and with a really a small amount of money because by explaining, we were conned, and he so sympathized for us, and he took on the job almost nothing, and took on the job with paying almost nothing, and our house was thankfully completed thanks to him. And it was such a big turmoil back then, but the house was finished, and we moved into it, and it was 9 years old, and I left home when I was 21 years old, so I lived there about 12 years, for 12 years. And after I left home, my grandparents, and my parents, and my sister lived there, continued to live there. But about 8 years ago, 8 or 9 years ago, my parents failed their business and lost inherited money that they were inherited from ancestors. They lost everything, and they needed to sell the house. So there was no other way other than selling the house. And by that time, my grandparents passed away. So, and my sister lived abroad. And so my parents sold the house and moved out. And the house was demolished, along with that beautiful wooden threshold that the carpenter worked without being paid. That piece of art was gone forever. Well, that's all for today. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy with me. If you are interested, the other memoirs of mine are available. You can read all the books I wrote on my website, HidemiWoods.com, HIDEMI.woods.com. So if you are interested, please visit there, where my songs, my blogs, of course my books, and all the links to SNS or podcasts, live cast, anything was there. Even my original brand, where my own illustration, where merchandise that features my own original illustrations. So if you like, why don't you visit there once in a while? See you next time. Thanks for listening again. I'm Hidemi Woods. Until next time, take care and be well.